All right. All right. So before I get started, anyone care to share a little bit about what they got out, what they understand Pesach is about? I'll open it up before I get started because I'm going a whole different angle this year. So before I do that, I want to know what you guys got out of Pesach all the previous years for those that have done it or have read about it. Can anyone highlight some things to understand about Pesach? I know we don't want to say it all at one time. So, has anyone observed Pesach before? Okay, good. All right, hallelujah. Okay.
Pesach originated with our ancestors in Israel, and
Mhm.
what I get from it is a separation, how to separate from unconscious and consecrate yourself. And he does so with the blood of the doorpost to seal themselves to be a gift. So the Most High, that thing will pass over them.
Mhm.
And we do that today also in remembrance of what God did for our ancestors that brought us out of this very culture.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Anyone else?
So he brought us out of Israel, so prepared for me, prepared for
Okay.
just kind of what I'm prepared for.
Mhm. Okay. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start from, I'm going to go in reverse this year, but I'm going to give you some heads up. So, we first need to understand the fundamentals of what Pesach is all about, slash chak matzah or unleavened bread. And so notice they were in a place they considered that was called like the house of bondage, a place that was they were not free to give the Father some praise, right? So he started to share with Pharaoh, listen, I'm about to show Pharaoh who I am. That's A. And B, not only who I am, but who my people are. And the reason I'm stressing this now is because this is going to happen again, right? So he wants us to see it now and understand it now, but there's a prophetic understanding going forward. So every year we talk about, yeah, but I can find it in Exodus chapter 12, starting at verse 1, and I can go over to Leviticus chapter 23, starting at verse 1. So we know where the locations are, and we understand that he commands us to keep his feast days. But sometimes we don't get into how that helps you towards the end. And this is what we're going to talk about today, is how that helps us even now and towards the end. You're in the bondage now. All of us desire to be free, right? All right. So when we start seeing some of the similarities, we should be able to relate as to what they were going through and going forward. Okay. So everyone's good so far. All right. I'm going to use the pen. All right. So here, guys, understanding the purpose of celebrating your days, right? So meaning you all see these 7 feasts, right? When you look at these feasts here, this should tell you that there are 7 feasts, and it's going to lead to a 7,000 year millennium reign. Okay, so each one means something, and as we get there, the Sukkot, for an example, we're going to notice that's the day. What's Sukkot all about, or tabernacle is about? Him tabernacling with us forever, right? So we're going to see the 6,000th year, or the, as you will, is what? Atonement for who? For all of our sins, but specifically as a nation, right? You have individual things, and then as you see every atonement, you notice the priest would take his hands on a goat, right? And then it's called a scapegoat, which is a representation of your sins going away, and then the other one is sacrifice for you, right? So my point is that you're going to see that each one means something, but before you can get this done for you, something needs to be done. This word here, teruah, which is called blow, but it's also called what? Shout, or an awakening. You have to be awake to do this, right? You have to be awake so you can get atoned for. Prior to that, you have Shabbat. What was Shabbat Feast of Weeks about? Okay, remember there's a harvest that's going to take place. Remember, we all are looked at as fruit, grains. Notice agricultural terms are used so that we can understand that as farmers, they were farmers. So when you start hearing wheat, tares, harvest, so he's trying to let us know that by understanding how a harvest cycle or season works, he's going to let you know you're going to be a harvest, right? And he's going to separate the wheat from the tares, and some are going to be bundled up and thrown in the fire. That's what you would naturally do with tares, right? Naturally. So he's letting you know how it's going to work. I'm really going through this really fast. First fruit, there is a purpose for first fruit. We're considered what? First fruit. What's that all about? Huh? Okay, so there's a firstborn right, right? There's a first fruit right. And then from there, there's using the first fruits to help other nations. You are the light that's going to help the other nations come in, right? Is everyone with me so far? Going to unleavened bread. What's unleavened bread about? Purging, right? So let me ask you all a question. Is there such thing as good leaven?
Yeah.
See how that just changed? No and yes. Huh? Is there such thing as good leaven?
Yeah.
Okay. But you got to get rid of your old leaven. Right. So you should have learned as you grow throughout your months and your weeks and your years that whatever has changed, you're getting rid of that. And then if you read the whole story about Shavuot or Feast of Weeks, notice they're going to have leavened bread with that feast because there's a new type of leaven, if you will, or a renewing. So anyway, then we got Pesach, which we want to talk about today, right? Which deals with redemption. You got to be redeemed. You got to understand that you are free. Meaning you may not feel physically free, right? But you are first have to be spiritually free. Okay, and then once you start spiritually free, that must mean you got to rely on something that's spiritual, and then you got to understand that the Father is spirit, and the Messiah talks about learn Him, how, worship Him how. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. There's a whole lesson in just the feast days by itself, but because it's a feast day, I don't want to go over that lesson. All right. So, but every year we go over the memorial of the feasts and the sacrifice. But sometimes we don't teach how it will help us in the prophecies to come. We do not show patterns of his plan throughout the scriptures and the feast, how each feast is needed to understand his plans. So this will be this particular lesson today. Okay? Any questions so far? Right? And as I keep going, if I lose somebody, please say something. Right? All right. All right. So circumcision and the Abrahamic covenant. So building a covenant with his people. Now, sisters, you don't have to worry about that natural circumcision more than the men has to worry about that. Okay, we good? But there is a circumcision for the women. How? In the heart. There's a spiritual circumcision. Men got a double portion. Okay. 17:7 says, and I will establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you. Hence, the understanding of the word seed, right? This is why it's very important. In their generations, for how long?
Everlasting.
Okay, everlasting covenant to be a Elohim unto you and to your seed after you. And I will give unto you and to your seed after you the land wherein you are a stranger. Then it says what? All the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession. I will be their Elohim. And that question I have on there is, has this happened? All of Canaan has never been all of Israel yet. So that lets you know this is a future prophecy that he has given Abraham. That little piece that they're calling Israel is not all Israel. Okay? But we'll keep going. All right, so Galatians 3:16. Just a little cross-reference here. I put, now to Abraham and to his seed were the promise made. He has not, and to seeds as many, but as for one, and to your seed, which is Mashiach. So the seed goes all the way back to Abraham to Mashiach. Then it says, and if you be Mashiachs, then you are you the Abraham's seed and heir according to the promise. So there's a link between Abraham and Mashiach. If you're saying you're with him, then you are of Abraham's seed. So understand, this thing goes way back to this particular covenant. So Luke 8:11-12 says, now the parable is this: the seed is the word of Elohim. So you got, when you're on your spare time, start looking up how seeds work, right? And how the seed of the Father, the seed, which is the word, how that works inside of you. And if that seed is in you, you start to get it watered and it starts to grow, you start to germinate, and next you start producing fruit. Okay, great. So those by the wayside are they hear. What are they hearing? They're hearing the word, okay, of. Okay, then it says, then comes who? So he's coming for a reason, right? Listen to his reason to do what?
Take away the word.
I thought the word, now mind you, the word at this time was, I mean, you didn't have a Matthew to Revelation at this time. So, okay, all right. So mind you, the devil's coming to take away the word of Elohim out. Now, you're here today in traditional Christianity, right? You don't have to do the laws or the prophets. You don't have to do none of that no more. But is it the word of Elohim? So now they are operating in that same spirit, but we'll talk about it another time. It says, where is he taking it out of? Out of your heart. Why? Least that you should believe and be. Are you saying that it actually is a part of being saved? According to what the Mashiach said, and his words will judge you in the last days, as it says, right? All right. Everyone's good so far. Haven't lost nobody. Great. So we can see that this covenant is an ongoing covenant until what? All is fulfilled. Okay, so what some fail to see is the link. All prophets are linked all the way down to the last prophet. Okay, so if you see each prophet's message, you'll get a bigger picture. We're not going to go over that today. We'll be here all night. My point is that if you start taking the time to read the prophets, and we know that the prophets are being used by the Father, right? So there's a message of each prophet that will lead up to the last prophet. To the last prophet. Who happens to be the last prophet? Huh? You said Yahuah is the last prophet? You said John the Revelator. That's what he said, Yahuah. So are we saying Mashiach was never called a prophet? Huh? Well, where are we stopping at? So you stopping at John. You stopping at John. Huh? No, it came out your mouth. Whatever was in your heart came out of your mouth. No, huh? So got it. We got it. We know he's the prophet. Remember, he's the Messiah, right? We know who he is. But the point is, all the way down, because it said all of it spoke of him. Okay? Everyone with me? Okay. All right. I'm glad we have this class today. Please don't put nothing in the Pesach lamb when we get finished. All right. So what is the Pesach all about? So in this covenant that stems back to the time of Abraham, the covenant of Yahuah made with him is connected to Pesach. So the Abrahamic covenant is connected to Passover. So we got to see. Genesis, Bereshit 17:10 says, this is my covenant, which you shall keep between me and you and your seed after you. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. And you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generation. He that is born in the house or bought with money, any stranger, right? Which is not of your seed. 13 says, he that is born in your house and he that is bought with your money must need be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. Okay? And the uncircumcised man child whose flesh or his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. He has broken my covenant. So everyone sees that you must be circumcised in this particular covenant, right? Now we're going to Passover. This is Shemot Exodus 12:44. But every man's servant, right? This stranger, whoever this is, that is brought with what money? Did you hear this here? Now you see it's coming down here to Pesach says, when you have circumcised him, then he shall he eat thereof. And when a stranger shall sojourn with you and do what? Keep the Pesach of Yahuah. Let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, but no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. So you see, the Abrahamic covenant goes all the way, the Passover goes all the way back to the Abrahamic covenant. Is everyone with me so far? So we're going to see that the Father's covenant starts to build as they become a nation. It starts to grow. But so far, we should be good, right? Any questions? No questions? Is everyone circumcised in here? Huh? I hear them. Yeah, uh-huh. All right. I want no one to burn up. All right. So, 23:9 says, also you shall not oppress a stranger, for you know what? The heart of a stranger, seeing you were strangers in the land of Mizraim, right? So again, you can't be up there oppressing them. And that's why we read earlier that if this stranger wants to be a part of the covenant, are they welcome to be? All right. Because you're supposed to be a light. All right. Understanding the lesson. So in this lesson, I would try to show parallels of the story and the things surrounding the stories to show the overall understanding of what this feast is about and its future implications. So see these scriptures in a prophetic way. That's the objective. So I'm giving you just a little example of what we'll be talking about in the future. Genesis 15:12. Listen to what it says. And when the sun was going, everyone know this is about Abraham. Remember when he cut the, okay, great. So it says, and when the sun was going down, a what? A deep sleep, which represents a spiritual death. We'll see in just a minute. Fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness, which is a representation of going to be being exiled, okay, fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that your seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs. Why? Because you're going to see later on that's going to be an exile. We're going to be in a land that's not ours because of a exile, and shall serve them. Why are they going to be serving them? Just like, remember, he told our forefathers what happened. If you don't, then these things are going to come upon you, right? And then you're going to be scattered. So you got here somehow, right? You didn't got here because you said, Father, I love America. I'm on my way. No, that's not how you got here? Okay, all right, just making sure. So then it says, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, right? So again, he's going to what? Notice he's going to be judging the nations at the end of the days, the last days. And afterward they come out, which is the redemption, right? They're going to be redeemed from exile with a great substance. Just like when they came out of Egypt, they wound up taking the wealth of the wicked with them. Okay? So you're going to see that this same principle is going to happen again. Any questions? All right. So, what does it say here? Now, I want you to, this Hebrew word here is what? tardema. Okay, tardema is the word for this deep sleep. Now look at the definition for deep sleep. Hmm? Lethargy, deep sleep, primitive root to be stunned, to be stupefied, sleep, fastened to be in a deep sleep. Okay, cast as dead, right? Okay, great. 29:10. This is for you has poured out upon you the spirit of a deep sleep. So though you're alive, you still have a deep sleep. Now we will get into the valley of the dry bones if we really want to really amplify this. But it says, and has closed your eyes that the prophets and your rulers, the seers, has he covered. All right, so that's what I said. We can really start doing a lot of parallels as to how this works. Next one is Psalms 107:10 says, such as sit in what? Darkness, right? Such as sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, like a great darkness, if you will, being bound in affliction and iron. And then verse 11 says, because they rebelled against the word of Elohim and did what? Look at that. Contempt the counsel of the Most High. Okay. So again, this is what will cause you to go into an exile. This will cause you to lose the connection that we have with the Most High. Everyone's good so far. All right. All right. So Yahuah will visit them because of his promise. So in Shemot or Exodus chapter 2, verse 23, it says, it came to pass in the process of time that the king of Mitzrayim or Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came unto Elohim by reason of the bondage. So again, you're going to see it's going to happen again. The more we cry out in captivity, the more something's going to happen. And again, we'll read out of that in Yahuah and in Ezekiel, but we're not going there today. So, but it says, and Elohim heard the groaning, but listen to what he says. And Elohim did what? He made with Abraham, Yitzchak, Isaac, and Yaakov, and Jacob. So mind you, he's bringing them up because he remembered the what? So you see how this is all being attached from Genesis. Now we're into Exodus, right? There's an attachment, there's an agreement that he remembers that he would never slack on his covenant. Never, right? So because of that, right, we see that Yahuah is doing everything because of his promise. Okay, as we will see, he will continue to make covenants, if you will, as his people becomes a nation. Devarim of Deuteronomy 29:12 says that you should enter into covenant with Yahuah Elohim and into his oath, which Yahuah Elohim makes with you this day, that he may establish you today for a people unto himself, right? Then it says that he may be unto you as Elohim, as he has said unto you, and has sworn unto your fathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, or Jacob, Isaac, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And then 14 says, neither with you only do I make this covenant and this oath, but with him is implied, that stands here with us this day before Yahuah Elohim, and also with him that is not here with us this day. Okay? So again, this covenant is going to be not just with those that are standing there, but those in the future. Okay? Is everyone with me so far? All right. Am I going too fast? Okay. Just want to make sure everyone is cooking with good grease here. All right. So what Yahuah wants us to see in redemption. Okay, Yahuah used Mitzrayim or Egypt to open up the eyes of his people and those that wanted to sojourn with them. Exodus or Shemot 5:1-2 says this. And after Moshe, Moses, Aaron, Aharon, went in and told Pharaoh, thus saith Yahuah Elohim of Israel, Yisrael, let my people go, that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness. And Pharaoh said, who is Yahuah, that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I know not Yahuah, neither will I let Israel go. Okay, so redemption is knowing who Yahuah is. Pharaoh didn't know, but by the end of those plagues, it was very clear who he was. And he starts, oh, I have sinned. And he started naming them. I've sinned. Oh, tell Yahuah. How'd you know who he was? Same principle is when we start going through stuff, it's strange when we doing great, less prayers, less communication with the Father. But the minute you're going through something, oh, you know him like the back of your hand. Oh, Father, help me out of this thing here. You are excellent. Oh, please help me. Oh, my enemies are round about me. You do more praying when you're going through stuff. Okay? All right. So verse 17, 7:17 says, thus saith Yahuah, in this you shall know that I am Yahuah. Behold, I will smite with the rod that is my hand upon the waters which are in the river, and they shall be turned to blood. So again, you shall know that I am. You're going to know who I am. 8:22, and I will sever that day the land of Goshen, in which my people dwell, that no swarms of flies shall be there, to the end you may know that I am Yahuah in the midst of the earth. So again, I'm going to make a distinction between my people and not my people. I'll just leave it at that right now. Okay, so those that are doing his works, he's going to show you who his people are, and especially specifically in the last days. If you want to learn that in the future, you go to Ezekiel chapter 36 and 37. But for right now, I'm just sharing with you. He's trying to show it is, because they tell you in those books I just named that they say everyone's going to know that I've chosen you. A lot of us are forcing people today to figure out who you are. Oh, you know who I am? And they laugh at you. Yeah, where's your Elohim at? Oh, nowhere? Oh, yeah. No, it's the other people over there in the land. They're the people. See, they're back at home, right? But again, there's going to come a time. So how would you combat that? Now, think about it since we're going on. How do you know that they're not the people? You're on 28? Okay. But remember, it has to be, when they go back, there's some prophecies that takes place when you return home. So how you know? You still see the flies in Goshen? Okay. Okay. Right. He's going to gather some four winds. And notice what's interesting about the gathering right now that they're doing is when those that what they consider using the Aliyah program, the Aliyah, when you go over there, you don't come in as any of the 12 tribes. You come back in as Judah or as a Jew. Every conversion is to be a Jew. None of all the other tribes. Very strange, right? So, but he said he's going to gather them all, and he's going to set them up. Two sticks shall be one. We'll talk about that in the future. All right. Verse 22 says, and I will serve in that day the land of Goshen, and it will be my people, and they no swarms and flies shall be there. In the end, you may know that I am Yahuah in the midst there on the earth. So what I want you to also get out of this is there's going to be pestilence in one versus the other. Okay, keep the pestilence in mind, because we're going to see that it's going to happen again. Yeshayahu, Isaiah 37, verse 18. He says, of a truth, Yahuah, the king of Assyria, have laid waste all the nations and their countries, and have cast their Elohim into the fire, but they were no Elohim, or mighty ones, or as it says in King James, no gods. It says, but the work of men's hand, wood and stone, therefore they have destroyed them. Now therefore, O Yahuah Elohim, save us from his hand, that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that you are Yahuah, even you only. Okay? So you see, I'm putting the same principle in Egypt. You just heard that in Egypt when he says, Pharaoh is going to know who I am. Who else is going to know? All the kingdoms of the earth. Do they know that now? No. Okay, so again, there's a prophecy that says it's going to happen. 60 verse 15 says, whereas you have been forsaken and hated, so that no man went through you, I will make you in eternal excellence a joy of many generations. But it says, you shall also what? Suck the milk of the Gentiles, and shall suck the breast of kings. And you shall know that I am Yahuwah, your Savior, and your Redeemer. This is going to be very important. The mighty one of Yaakov or Jacob. So again, notice the theme of what the outcome of the Gentiles and the redemption of Israel. There's going to be you getting some, what does it say, suck the milk of the Gentiles. That's an idiom for what? Getting what? Getting it wealth. Okay. All right, great. So again, this is going to happen. Verse 18 is, I'm trying to keep this rated G as possible. All right. All right, verse 18 says, and it shall come to pass at the same time when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, Yisrael, or Yisrael says that what? Adonai Yahuwah, that my fury shall come up in my face. Now, question is, this Gog, has this happened yet? All right, so again, there's a lot of stuff that still has to take place in the future. Verse 22 says, and I will plead against him with what? Pestilence. I want you to see this. Pestilence with blood, and I will rain upon him and upon his band and upon the people that are with him, those that are with, okay, an overwhelming rain and a great, and then what happens? Fire, hailstones, fire, brimstone. Thus will I magnify myself and purify myself, and I will be known in the eyes of many nations, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah. Again, there will be no questions of who he is. But notice the pestilence, or the plagues, if you will. It's going to happen again. Does any of these plagues remind you of anything happened that something turned into blood and you see some hail and some fire? My point is, it's going to happen again, but on a greater scale. All right. Genesis 50, 24 and 25 says this. Now, this is idiomatic phrases, so I want you to hear these phrases. And I highlight them in blue just in case you had a question. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, and Elohim will surely visit you. This is going to be very important. Okay? Visit you. And bring you out of this land unto the land, which swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, and Jacob. And he also took an oath of the children of Israel, or Israel, saying, Elohim will surely visit you, and you shall carry out my bones from hence. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had straitly sworn the children of Israel, saying, Elohim will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones away hence with you. Right now, everyone believes that this took place, correct? Awesome. All right, so Exodus 4:31. And the people believed. And when they heard that Yahuwah had visited the children of Israel, and that he had looked upon their affliction, then they bowed their heads and worshiped. And again, this is going to happen again. John, Yahuwah 17:21 and 23, it says that they all may be one as you, Father, in me and I in you, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe what? Okay. Does all believe this happens yet? So all of his enemy has been made a footstool yet. Okay. All right, no problem. 23 says, I and them and you and me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that you have sent me and have loved them as you have loved me. Keep that in mind. So notice the redemption plan. The Father to the Redeemer, to the firstborn, to the nations. That's the plan, right? So think about the Father to the Mashiach, to the firstborn. What advantage does the Yahudi have? Chief in every way, because chiefly he was given the oracles of Elohim, right? You read that in Romans. So my point is, then from there to the nations. That's the plan. Now look at it here. Same thing in the wilderness. Yahuwah to the high priest, to Israel, to the nations. See the pattern? That they're both the same. Mashiach, high priest when they were in the wilderness. This pattern has not changed. Okay? Any questions? Okay. I just think they're hungry. All right. All right. Oh, yeah, they got nothing but time on their hands. All right. So 23 verse 1 says, Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith Yahuwah. Therefore, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, against the pastors that seed my people. You have scattered my flock and have driven them away, and what? Have not visited them. Behold, then what? I will visit upon you the evil of your doing, saith Yahuwah. So again, there's a visiting that Yahuwah will do, but also you'll notice that he's also going to do a visit upon these pastors that scatter his people. Okay? So I put redemption is gathering of your sheep, Yahuwah's sheep, Mashiach shared in the Torah, so that the sheep can be ready. The whole point is sending these pastors or shepherds to get the sheep ready. That's the objective, right? So when they do not teach his Torah or his instructions, that it causes a scattering and a separation from Yahuwah. So Luke 1:6-7 says, and his father, Zechariah, was filled with the Chodesh Ruach, or the set-apart spirit, and prophesied, saying, Blessed be Yahuwah Elohim of Israel. For what happened? He has visited and redeemed his people, and has raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David, as he spoke by the mouth of his Chodesh Ruach, a set-apart prophets, which have been since the world began. I'm telling you, the putting the prophets together, align it up to the Mashiach, to the last prophet, there's a big picture there. It says that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us, to perform the mercies promised to our fathers, and to remember his Chodesh, or set apart covenant, the oath which he swore to our father. See, it starts with that promise, that oath. All right, we're almost there for the ones that needed to know, right? What was it? They needed to know the time? Okay. So Shemot 4:22 says, And you shall say unto Pharaoh, Thus saith Yahuwah, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. And I say unto you, Let my son go. For what reason? That they may serve me. And if you refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay your son, even your firstborn. Okay, so once the firstborn serves, there is a reward for being in that position. So he's got his first servant set up, which is the firstborn. That's Israel. They are the first servants, if you will, okay, from the covenant, right? All right. Leviticus 25:55 says, For unto me the children of Israel are servants. They are my servants, whom I brought forth out of the land of Mitzrayim or Egypt. I am Yahuwah your Elohim. Okay, so again, we know who the servants are. He made into them a covenant at Mount Sinai, right? Everyone remembers this story. Great. Verse 40, Isaiah, Yeshayahu 44:1 says, Yet now hear, O Jacob and Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I've chosen. I've chosen you to be a servant. What reason did he choose Israel to serve him? How? How would Israel serve him? Huh? How would Israel serve the Father? Okay, so he'll be the objective was for them to be kings and priests, right? To serve him by producing his word or his light to. Okay, all right. So now we can understand the Mashiach from this angle. Matthew 22:15 says, And was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of Yahuwah by the prophet, saying, Out of Mitzrayim, or out of Egypt have I called my son. Now, mind you, this is a quote from Hosea 3:16. He says, and Yahuah, when he was immersed, went up straightway out of the water, and lo, the heavens were opened unto him, and he saw the Spirit of Elohim descending like a dove and lighting upon him. Then it says, and lo, a voice from Shammai of heaven saying, This is my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased. Okay, so again, this is the purpose of his firstborn, to be beloved and well pleased. Our actions is supposed to dictate this. You want to be there, oh, faithful, this, come on in, right? That's what you want to hear. At least I believe that's what everyone wants to hear. Now, if you want to hear, I don't know you, depart from me, there's gonna be it's not gonna be a a lot of people really think that they're gonna, when that day comes, you're gonna really be able to fight those Melachins. I really don't think that's gonna work. Okay, yeah, it can be more than touching your socket, your hip, your socket. All right. So anyway, we'll keep going. Matthew 20:28 says, even as the Son of Man came not to what? Not to be served or to be ministered unto, but to serve, right? Or to minister and to give his life a ransom for many. Okay? Now who says this? Mashiach himself said this. I didn't come to be served, but to serve, right? Same thing. Are you coming to be served? No, you're coming to serve as well. He's the best pattern on the planet. John 6:30 says, for I came down from Shamayim or heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. All right? All right, just to keep that in mind, because some of us don't like to hear that. Now, we get into the lamb now. We get to that sheep. This is all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way. Okay, and Yahuah has laid upon him the iniquity of us all. So all we are like what? Sheep. Okay, sheep going astray. It says, and he was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth, but he brought as a lamb to the slaughter. Okay, and as a sheep before her shears is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. So again, I want to understand this, when you had that lamb without blemish, and they put that lamb's blood over the lintel or the doorpost, what did it cause? Death angel to pass you over, right? So I always ask this question every year. Let me see if I get the same answer. How many of you guys, by show of hands, is perfect, scripturally-wise? How many say we're not perfect, scripturally-wise? All right. Every year it changes. So the word for perfect in the Hebrew is tamim. Tamim. So what that means, not Webster's dictionary, right? Not I can't do nothing wrong, Webster's dictionary. Tamim in Hebrew means someone that is mature, someone that is upright, okay? Someone that stands for justice or righteousness. Question, how many of us are that? But I thought some of y'all said y'all not perfect. Right, so what I want you to hear is that, remember, we're commanded to be perfect. He would not command you to be something you cannot be. He would never do that to you. I want you to be perfect. Oh, no one can do it, Father. Excuse me? So you're reading both sides of the book. Even Mashiach says the same thing, that he wants us to be perfect, or he wants us to be mature. Okay, he wants us to be sure. We got the milk. We understand what milk is. The milk is the sincere word of Elohim. But then you got to move on to, well, no. This is move on to what? How do you move on to perfection? Not again land of the things that is milk. So you can be perfect. That's the point. Now, don't go to that Webster's dictionary, because you're going to find out no one's going to make that mark, right? That's what I'm saying. Just sticking with the scriptures and the scriptural definitions of words. This is what it is. You're commanded to do so by the Father, by the Mashiach, is letting you know that you can do it. All right, we'll keep going. John 1:29 says, the next day, you're hooking on to John, sees Yahushua coming upon him, saying, behold the Lamb of Elohim that takes away the sins of the world. Okay? So again, there's a huge pattern, and we're asking the same perfect Lamb to take away our sins. Now, once he does that, what is sin? Transgression of the law. Where can I find that address? Y'all making up some stuff. Huh? 1 John 3:4. Sin is transgression of the law. Okay? All right. All right, so now we're coming to a close here. It says, what will cause you not to be able to be a part of the plagues? Shemot Exodus 12 tells us, for I will pass through the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt, this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt, both man and the beast, and against all the Elohim of Mitzrayim, or the mighty ones, coming called the gods of Egypt, I will execute judgment. I am Yahuah, Yahuah. Verse 13, and the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Mitzrayim. So again, he got to see the blood, and then that's when he'll pass over you, right? So once you say, hey, I got the blood of Mashiach on me, but yeah, so I can go ahead and continue to sin. So it says, if you sin willfully, expect judgment, right? Hebrews chapter 10, verse 25, right? If you sin willfully, there remains no remission for sin. That's the difference. So as long as you're striving to do what is right, and when you're ignorant of something, and then when you learn of what is ignorant, according to Numbers of Bamidbar, then you can ask for that. Okay, we'll keep going. All right, so everyone knows this story, right? The blood, and this is the spirit, the destroyer coming. What I want you also to understand is that we are a house, okay? We are a moving house, a moving vessel, right? And our desire is to have the Father's Spirit in us. At least I pray that's what we're all looking for, okay? The next part you see here is, I'm going to paraphrase what I wanted to say. Basically is, without really getting graphic, I guess, the blood on the doorpost, it's like a woman in travail. All right? And as she's in travail, next thing you know, what comes out when a woman's pregnant? What comes out first? The water. Oh, I know you ain't pregnant. I understand, I can't. Take your time. You got to talk to these women that know something. Huh? All right. Water pop, blood come, child comes, right? I want you to understand, when Israel came out of that blooded doorpost, it was like Israel being born, coming out of a womb. Okay? That's what's happening here. That's my fast version of that. 12:2. So it says, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. All right? So if he needed to explain this, didn't they already know in the what's the beginning of months for the year and all that good stuff? Has anyone done that little research? No? All right. So back in the day, technically, what I would say the Jews would say Rosh Hashanah was on the 7th month, right? What we call the 7th month. And they were saying that was when creation of the earth was done. It's on the 7th month, and they called that the new year. So if that's true, the question is, why then does he want this to be the beginning of months? Right, because 3 times a year. This is when, if you did it on the 7th month, it's closing out all your harvesting times, right? You go into your winter. In winter in Israel is the rainy season. It's not like you look for snowflakes and things like that down there. It becomes a rainy season. It rains a lot. If everyone been there in October, November, December, you see it rains a lot. But the point of that is when the spring comes, the barley is so saturated with water that when the spring comes and the sun heats it up and it starts to grow, allows that barley to grow. It starts producing fruit. So he wants us to use these feasts, these harvests, to understand redemption. Okay, is everyone with me so far? All right. All right, so verse 3 says, Speak unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto him his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your account for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish. Okay, a male of the first year, you shall take it, and from the sheep or from the goats. And you shall keep it until the 14th day, and at that same month, which is Abib, right? And the whole assembly of the congregation shall kill it. Kill it what? Between the evenings. I know King James. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know we like King James. It says in the Hebrew there what? Ben ha evadim. Ben means between. Ha means the. Evadim is evenings, plural. Okay? So again, between the evenings. Well, because so in between the evenings, if you're doing it at evening as the sun goes down, you're not going to have time to do everything you need to do for that lamb. Between the evenings, let you know there's the whole day side of this thing going down. You have enough time to slaughter the lamb, roast the lamb, do everything you need to do before the night hits, because you're going to eat it at night. But if you roast it at evening and the night hits, you hit. All right.
Some people that, some people the evening before 10,
Mm-hmm.
so they got to save the lamb all day long
Mm-hmm.
until
Yeah.
it's evening.
Yeah. All right. 12:7 says, And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 sides of the post and on the upper doorpost of the houses wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night. So when they're going to eat it?
That night,
In the night. Lila, in the night. Okay. How?
roasted with fire.
Roast it with fire. So that means how you're going to eat this lamb is going to be roasted, right? And with what?
Unleavened bread,
Unleavened bread. Okay. And then with what? Bitter herbs, they shall eat it. So we're going to go through that part this evening. Everyone's going to have to partake of the bitter herbs. I'm sorry if it's going to be a little bitter for you. I do give a little challenge about eating that good old horseradish root, right? Whole. I mean, you got to chop it up and eat it. Now, some people don't make it, but the good thing is we're actually about maybe a minute and a half from the hospital. So if you ever need anything, we got a spot for you. No worries. John Randolph, we got Killer Randolph right next door. All right. Um, so understand it says, here's how you're not going to eat it. Eat it not with it raw, nor sudden at all with water. So you can't eat it boiled. You can't boil it in water and say, oh, got my lamb, we're good. But roasted with fire, his head with his legs, and with the what? Pertinence thereof. And you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remains of it until the morning you shall burn with fire. And thus shall you eat it. How? Loins girded up with your shoes on your feet. If you look up that word, it says what? Sandals. Sandals. I know you guys got some brethren got some sandals. Some got some Nikes. Huh? I won't say nothing about that God is Nike, right? We won't say anything about that. All right. Some of them think they got some New Balance. Okay, we keep going. All right, no problem. All right. So anyway, with it says shoes on your feet or sandals, and it said, and with your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is Yahuah's Pesach or Passover. He says, for I will pass through the land of Mitzrayim or Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim or Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the Elohims of Mitzrayim, all the mighty ones or common gods of Egypt, and I will execute judgment. I am Yahuah. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses wherever you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Mitzrayim or Egypt. And this day shall be unto you for this is a memorial. So what we're doing is memorializing this day. And you shall keep it a feast to Yahuah throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. All right, so any questions? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All the good old internal stuff. No. Now, you got to take the things that are unclean, like you talking about like the poop and yeah. You take the entrails off. Oh yeah, oh yeah, it'll contaminate the whole thing. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, you should see that process. It was in the land. Yeah, yeah, we ought to see some faces. Anyway, um, so what I want us to get out of this realistically is that there's a dual meaning for why we do these things. Uh, one is a memorial for all generations, right? You teach the children about it because you want them to lose what happened to the forefathers. You don't want them to forget the generations before. So this is why you do this part as the memorial part. The other part of it is it's still likened to all the end time prophecies. So when you see this here, as you walk each one out, you should see a prophecy and how it works, all the way down to this the beginning of years, if you will. This is the first 1,000 year. Then you're going to see the second 1,000, and the third 1,000, the fourth, sixth, and 7,000 year. All that stuff is tied into these feast days. All right. So we have to understand that if we don't understand his feast days, then you're not going to understand his redemptive plan. So this is the objective that we should also be considering at the same time. All right. So I'll open the floor up for any questions. All right. Well, one time I think I'm going to hear you guys is when we take that horseradish route. All right. So if all hearts and minds is clear, um, then we'll stop that and the other two. Um, so from here, my question is going to be for everyone. I'm not I'm not putting no one on the spot. That's not what this is about. But for